Hi, folks. Welcome to week 2. This is the week that we are really kicking it into high gear. And I know I've mentioned it in some of the kind of documents on the modules, but I will admit this week is a little intense with the amount of reading and preparation that you're going to be doing. But a lot of that has to just do with the fact that we lost 1 week, and I want to make sure that we are up to par with our information so that we can begin engaging in contemporary decolonial narratives addressing issues around the Black community. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There is quite a bit of reading to do, and it's reading that you have to do on the early side of the week. You also have a response, uh, like a short essay. You also have the discussion question, of course. There's only one discussion question this week, but of course it's very involved. So it's going to be really vital for you to jump onto the class in the first part of the week so that you are successful for the remainder of it. Okay. Um, Hopefully, you're also watching my lectures because I think that they help contextualize the expectations for the week, as well as just providing some a little bit more extemporaneous quality to the information that you're exploring. Of course, The Color of Law and White Fragility are both really uh, packed texts with information, especially Color of Law. I hope that you're enjoying them. I'm going to be getting everybody's kind of opinions about the readings soon. But just to reiterate, we do have quite a bit of reading in both White Fragility and The Color of Law for Tuesday, roughly, right? We're kind of using the Tuesday-Thursday model, even though we're not meeting specifically, as a way to provide the tent poles in our course so that you don't get too far behind. But chapters 5 and 6 in both White Fragility and The Color of Law is what you're reading officially for Tuesday. Then, of course, you're going to be reading A Raisin in the Sun, which might be a very well-known play to you. You may have read it in high school or before. I also have the film version, the good one, the Sidney Poitier version, um, also on Camino, in case you'd like to watch it and just to get kind of a sense of the narrative. Um, Either are good in this case. You can either watch or read the play. It is filmed in its entirety, and I think it does a really good job. So it's up to you, whichever way you would like to explore it, or of course you can do both. I'm providing those opportunities for you. But you want to do those kind of on the early side because the the response, the reading response is due on Thursday, and then of course you want to have already read The Color of Law and White Fragility because they're dealing with informations that are being illustrated through this decolonial text, which is the play itself. Okay. I'm not going to lecture on the material because you're going to be reading it. And what we want to do is have you process that material first before we then begin to live and breathe it in terms of the way that it affects uh, the Black community in the future. But one of the things that might be able to help you in terms of grappling and understanding the material is to go back to that PowerPoint that I posted week 1 because it has information that provides like definitions and um, perhaps in a more clear or succinct language, particular concepts that are explored, especially in The Color of Law, chapters 5 and 6. Okay, so go back and look at that PowerPoint if you would like some clarification. But what the readings, just to give you the gist, what the readings are exploring is more the phenomenon surrounding World War II, the Second Great Migration, and this idea of urban renewal. So there are a couple concepts in particular that maybe while you're reading the chapter, pay special attention to, and those are redlining, the lending discrimination associated with redlining, this concept called blockbusting as an action, and then subsequently in chapter 6, the rise of a welfare state in America and how that gets so distinctly associated with the Black community in America, despite the fact that it wasn't initially. So again, pay specific attention to redlining and blockbusting as actions taken during the time and how they contributed to what is currently visible in contemporary America, and specifically this kind of rise of a welfare state. The wonderful thing about reading White Fragility and The Color of Law kind of in tandem is that you can begin to understand how the law, the private enterprises, and kind of these institutionalizations of racism have led to the perceptions of contemporary Black culture as espoused by white fragility. And just to give you kind of a preview, this idea of our contemporary perceptions of Blackness is going to be what constitutes our first formal major essay in the class when we start exploring the contemporary stereotypes and investigate them personally. But we'll talk more about that later. We'll review the first major essay later. What we are doing with A Raisin in the Sun, the play, is we're going to begin looking at the creative responses to such policies. Maybe you have seen this or read this play before, but I think now with the information that you have from The Color of Law, you're going to understand exactly what the motivations of the play were. And Hansberry had a very specific response to these covenants, these institutionalizations, these lending discriminations, redlining, all of this phenomenon we see illustrated in this very compelling and wonderfully written narrative, which is why it's one of the great classic theater texts of America. Okay, so read your chapters, of course, in White Fragility and The Color of Law, and then start to read A Raisin in the Sun or start watching it. And again, this is a moment where you want to read early. I know I keep emphasizing that, but I don't want you to feel like you're behind the 8 ball. And this is kind of a little bit of an intense week. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Also remember that by Wednesday, provide me with anyone that you would like to work with on the group presentations, because I will post the group assignments for those presentations starting at the end of next week. Okay? But I'll be posting them midweek this week so that you have enough time to begin preparing. All right. Enjoy the readings. Notice I'm not lecturing on the content because I want you to read. And then we're going to begin to kind of parse out and specify aspects of these readings in more dynamic ways for discussions in the future. All right. Have a great couple days, and you'll see my mug again on Thursday's lecture.